Hi, my name is Cass and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you 10 plus fantasy book and series recommendations available to you on Kindle Unlimited. I love all of these books and I love all these series. Literally some of them are in my top 10 of all time. So we have some great recommendations just easily available to you if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I love my Kindle, but I also love Kindle Unlimited because there are so many books out there that you see all over Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube, just giving you recommendations to read them, and you didn't realize that if you had a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you have easy access to them. When I say I love these books, I truly mean it. They are fantastic. They have amazing magic systems. I think the authors are just absolutely incredible. And I just wanted you guys to be able to love them, read them, and just adore them as much as I do. So without further ado, let's get into these Kindle recommendations. One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, the Shepherd King Duology by Rachel Gillig. I didn't realize that these were on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm so glad that I found out they were, because I think this is a series everybody needs to read. When it comes to an eerie, atmospheric, and just enchanting world, Rachel Gillig provides. Also, I love the magic system in this world. It uses Providence cards. There are 12 in total, and I just love the fact that pretty much anybody, if you can get your hands on a card, can use the magic. It is not limited to just people with magic in their blood. It's not limited to the rich or the poor. Obviously, if you are rich and elite, you are going to be the one that probably has the most amount of cards, but anybody, if they can get their hands on them, can get to use them. And I just find that aspect of it so intriguing. I love all these Providence cards. I just think that they are very unique when it comes to the magic that they hold, because it's not even just that the maiden card gives you beauty. Because magic is a give and take system, it also takes from you. And so the more you use the maiden card per se, the more vain you become. This duology takes place in a kingdom called Blunder, where they are encapsulated by mist. Nobody is able to come and nobody is able to go. And the best part is it's a series where the second book is even better than the first. I love all the characters you are going to meet. When it comes to Elspeth, you are meeting the Nightmare, you are meeting Raven, just so many incredible characters. You are going to fall in love with absolutely everybody. And it's just such a fun story and journey that you are going to be going on, because there are so many twists and turns. The ending of book one just leaves you on the edge of your seat, and then you are diving headfirst into a different story, but it's all the same in book two and Two Twisted Crowns. The Crowns of Nyaxia series by Carissa Broadbent. Carissa Broadbent is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I really enjoyed the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I'll be honest, I only read the first two books and the novella. I have not gotten to the third book in this series, but what I think is very unique about this series is they are duets. So you can just read these first two and this novella and be absolutely fine and enjoy the story. Or you can also start off with the next duet, which is the Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and then the next book that hasn't come out yet. You can also go that route as well. This series follows along vampires, and it is a Hunger Games style with trials and politics and tribulations. It was just so much fun. You are going to be meeting an incredible FMC Aurea, and then also an incredible MMC Rain. But Aurea is a human in a world of vampires. Her father, who was the king of the vampires, ended up saving her when her village was burnt to the ground. And now she has been raised in a goal to end up taking his place. It was just so much fun. I will say the beginning of the first book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, was a little bit slower, but once you actually got to the trials and you met every single character, you were in love. I honestly, when I say one of the best twists ever was at the end of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I'm not kidding. It was incredible. I did not expect and did not see it coming. My favorite in this is the novella. The Six Scorched Roses, I literally need it to be its own book. I need more of whatever kind of drug was put into it. It was incredible. I adored just getting to know these characters, but also the love and the depth. It was just you gotta read it. The Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. This is Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy, which I unfortunately do not own. This series is in my top 10 of all time. I loved the Greenbone Saga with every single fiber of my being. Fonda Lee is incredible, an incredible writer. She created an incredible story. Also, just incredible characters. The Greenbone Saga is martial arts, The Godfather, and magic all wrapped into one. And it is something that is going to hold your attention whether you believe it or not. Jade City is truly incredible. Jade War, even better. Jade Legacy is a masterpiece. It is magical, beautiful, the best conclusion to a trilogy I have ever read. And I will put my foot down, stamp it with my seal of approval. It is incredible. Jade is the source of magic in this world. It is naturally found and mined in Keycon, and those who have the ability to harness and use Jade are considered green bones. I really just liked the way that Jade was portrayed and Jade was used in terms of magic, because it's the more Jade that you used, the more magic you had. However, even though you can have more and more and more, you can't just have a never-ending supply in terms of how much power you're going to get. You are eventually going to like tap out and top out. But I think it was really interesting that when you remove Jade from your body, you went through withdrawals because that magic is going away from you. And it was just so unique to see the fact that Jade wasn't just in somebody, you wore it like jewelry, and if you lost it, you lost. Like, you could feel the physical reaction to losing the Jade. And I really liked that aspect of the story. I also really liked the politics in this because you are diving headfirst into the politics because you get to see from the side of the actual politics and you get the behind the scenes. You watch as they unfold because in part as the reader, you are watching what their decisions are going to be. There is such a fun time in terms of good and evil and intentions in this book because there is no clear line. It is just all gray area. You are going to see the sides of both stories and you're going to understand why people are doing what they're doing. But you know that because you are reading from one perspective, you have an idea of who is truly good. But in reality, there is no good or evil. Everybody does good things and everybody does evil things as well. The Greenbone Saga is truly a masterpiece in every single right. I loved what she did with the characters, the arcs that she gave them, and I really liked how you can see how one person's response and their action is going to have consequences no matter how far down the line. You are growing up with the Call family. You are going to be growing up with their children, and you are just watching how truly one thing so many years ago is going to end up creating a landslide, whether intentional or unintentional. And it was just a beautiful time to read, but it was also so chaotic, but also so composed. And pretty much my only word of advice is don't fall in love with any character. It's easier that way on yourself. And I just respected Fonda Lee so much for that. The Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. This is one of my favorite series of all time. This is my number 4 favorite series of all time. I love it so much. So much. I think when V.E. Schwab sat down to write this, she said, I'm going to write the most incredible story of all time, and that's exactly what she did. In the Shades of Magic world, there are 4 different parallel Londons and 4 different parallel worlds. You have Black London, which has the most amount of magic that ends up being consumed by itself. White London, which ends up destroying itself because it wanted too much magic, but magic needs a balance. Red London, which has the most perfect amount of balance, and then Gray London that has no magic at all. In this, you have Kel and Delilah, and they are 2 of the most incredible characters ever. Kel is a red traveler. He is the last of his kind in Red London, and he has the ability to hop from each London. He is also unofficially a smuggler. He ends up stumbling across a piece from Black London, which is dangerous in and of itself, and gets himself stuck into a world of trouble. He ends up meeting Delilah, who is also a thief, And because of this, they end up forming a relationship because Delilah ends up saving him. Delilah ends up forcing Cal to take her on an adventure, which ends up leading them both to a lot more than they were expecting. I like how the magic in this world is not limited to bloodlines. Anybody can have magic, anybody can develop it. So it's not just the rich and the powerful that have magic. Truly anybody can have it. There are also different types of magic in this world as well. But the part that I really enjoyed when it came to this was truly the world building and the characters. This world has some of the most incredible characters and anti-heroes, antagonists, and protagonists you have ever met. You are going to fall in love with every single character, and you are not going to want to fall in love with every single character. And you are just going to watch as chaos after chaos and everything just crumbles around while they are trying to contain magic, and the balance is just in jeopardy, and only certain people can save it, but the problem is maybe they can't. As you go on this journey, you are falling in love with every single aspect of it. You are falling in love with V. Schwab's writing style, but you are also going to be falling in love with the world itself. It was just so incredible. I love to go back and reread and just fall in love with this world all over again. And the fact that it is on Kindle Unlimited makes it easier if I just feel like going to specific chapters that are going to destroy me more often than others. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This book is also by V. Schwab, and this book is a poetic, beautiful literary masterpiece. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue follows along Addie as she makes a deal with the devil, who now has to deal with this curse of, yes, she can live forever, but she is forgotten by every single person she meets. She is going through life and enjoying it, accepting and understanding that nobody will ever remember who she is until she stumbles across a boy in a bookshop who actually remembers her name. This then follows along the journey of love, hope, and finding oneself as Addie and Henry end up discovering so much more about themselves and also each other. V. Schwab has an ability to become a whole new person when she writes. She embodies every single character. You can feel the love that she has for these characters, and you can feel that they love that they have for each other. This is a book that you are going to remember for the rest of your life. Addie might be forgettable, but I promise you this book is not. You are going to be so absorbed by the writing and by the characters that by the time this book is finished, you are just going to want to start all over from the beginning after you've gone through your box of tissues. You're going to get the chance to explore what life is like to be alone, truly be alone, and how you are able to overcome it, but also how important the bonds of friendship really are. I just love V. Schwab so much. I also just really love Addie and how much she teaches us as a reader, but how much we can teach her too. Babel by R.F. Kuang. If you are going to pick a book that is going to have you stumbling and fumbling because you don't understand, but also realize that maybe you're not as smart as you thought you were, this is the book for you, and I mean it in the best way possible. There's so much research that went into the making of this book, but you can tell how well thought out, meticulous, and just how important it was to make sure that everything written in here was correct. R.F. Kuang has a way with words, and I mean that both literally, figuratively, and if you read this book, you'll understand it even more. This book is focusing on the power of translation and the power of words. And when it comes to the magic system, it uses this translation and these words through the use of silver bars. You need to be fluent in multiple languages. You are going to write one word and its translation on one side, and then flip it over, and on the other side, you're going to write another word, but similar in a different language, and also be able to write its translation. So take a step back, think about it. I know English and English only, so I would never be successful in doing this, but also it really breaks down the English language and so many other languages, and you are going to be thinking twice if you actually know English or not. This is dark academia done right, but it also is just important when it comes to the power of friendship and the power of revolution. You are truly going to be exploring the violence, the colonialism, the racism in this time period, but you're also going to be realizing how important it is to find your identity, to find a place that you belong, and to be able to find friendships in all of that. When it comes to this book, I really think that R.F. Kuang did more than she even realized. It is so moving, it is so heavy, but it's also everything you could ask for in a book. The War of Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent. I love this series. Every single part of me is embedded in this series. I have read it multiple times. I love every single thing about it, and it is now getting traditionally published, which means it is going to get the recognition it deserves. Because if you are looking for an incredibly written, incredibly poetic, incredibly just perfect masterpiece of a book, of a world, of magic, of politics, of characters, this is it. This is a completed trilogy with the Daughter of No Worlds, Children of Fall of Gods, and Mother of Death and Dawn. When I say one of my favorite characters that has ever graced the pages of a book is in this series, I mean it. You are never going to meet an anti-hero quite like this. Tasana was born into slavery, but she ends up escaping after she ends up murdering the most powerful man in Thrall. She ends up going to the Order so that way she can hone in and practice her magic, but realizes that things are a lot more corrupt than they seem. While Tasana is determined to become everything she never thought she could be, the Order has darker plans for her, and truly the corruption begins to seep through. I loved this series. I loved how truly traumatic every single character's backstory is, but it was also so important and vital to who they are, but what shaped the story because of the fact that they were trying to overcome and persevere, and some of them just let the darkness consume them. When it comes to war and politics and world building, this series does it incredibly. I love when you get to the second book, Children of Fallen Gods, just how much you realize was left out in the first book, but also it makes the second book just so much better. It is truly an incredible second book and is probably my favorite of the series. When it comes to the final book, Mother of Death and Dawn, you are getting the chance to experience war in its most brutal form, but also understand just how it impacts every single other person. There is no true good versus evil here. It is good intentions versus good intentions, but the problem is only one can come out on top. If you are truly trying to determine which series you should read out of all of these, I highly recommend this one. It is so underappreciated, not recognized for its incredible writing, for the incredible talent that went into this, but also just the incredible characters. The Puppy War by R.F. Kuang. This trilogy is one that I say check your trigger warnings because everything violent and brutal and real about war is going to happen. R.F. Kuang did her research and she made sure that she was going to be as visual graphic and just truly making sure that she gets everything factual, whether you want to read it or not. This shows the real side of war, unlike anything that I have ever read. And the worst part is it's about a real time and it just has a magical element imbued into it. And I loved everything about this. I think R.F. Kuang not only did her research, but she gave us characters that we wanted to hate and did them so well that you couldn't help but sometimes actually hate them. You are going to be getting the most revenge-driven, unhinged FMC you will ever meet, and she works her butt off to get where she's at. The part that is just so interesting is how Rin is trying so hard to become a hero, but unfortunately when it comes to war, sometimes those lines between good and becoming that hero ends up making her into a monster she never thought she was going to be. Rin ends up getting thrust into this war of the will of the gods, and it just makes it so much more difficult for her because she's not only trying to be able to understand her own abilities, but she also has to understand the abilities of others. There's so much politics and so much war that's going on in this world, and Rin just doesn't know quite where she's supposed to go from here, who she's supposed to come. Is it who she wants to be, or is it who she's going to be forced to be? These books span the course of years, and because of that, you are going to be seeing so much growth, but you are also going to be seeing some very, 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 very questionable choices, but then you're questioning your own moral conscience because you're like, why am I agreeing with this? I really think that this book and this series is incredible, and it's one that I really highly recommend reading, but I also definitely recommend making sure that you are ready and understanding what actually goes into and what entails in reading this series. The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong. This book took me on a roller coaster of emotions that I have never recovered from, and it's been 2 years since I read this book the first time. I'm still not over it, but I also think that when it comes to epic world building, epic character arcs, and just an incredible magic and political system, It was perfection. The two main perspectives that you are getting is from Misaki, who is a mother, and Mamoru, who is her son. And you are watching the battle between them in terms of who they are and finding the identity in themselves. Mamoru is basically expected to become this great warrior because of his father, and Misaki is a great warrior, but she has to hide that because as a woman of this very powerful family, she needs to just be the woman of the house. This family and this town ends up being thrust into a war that their government had been denying for years, and now that they have to take matters into their own hands to not only fight for their freedom, but the freedom of their town, their country, and just the empire. There were multiple scenes that destroyed me in so many ways that I was not expecting. And then you had to continue on with the book after the destruction to your core of everything that you were as a person. I loved the fact that you were able to have so much emotions just through a halfway point because you were able to get so connected to these characters, what they were feeling, the emotions that they were going through, but also their journey, just for this arc to come crashing down on you as you get to realize just how much everything was hidden from you. I loved the intense magic. I loved the back and forth between the timelines, and I just loved the family dynamic and how important family was, but sadly it's not realized until it's too late. And you can feel the love that everybody has for each other, and they just want to bring hope and they want to bring compassion and joy, but there's just misery after misery and war and death looming. There are so many themes that are explored throughout these pages, but Emma Wong does it so beautifully that it's never a rough form of telling. Like, you truly just get to embody these characters and what they are going through in terms of the sexism and the gender roles, but also you are embodying the corruption and just how propaganda can truly ruin everything. I loved Emma Wong's ability to create such a powerful and poignant story, and I like the fact that in the end it is left up to your own devices how you're going to see this through, what you think the future is going to be, and it's just incredible, and it is a book that everybody needs to read. There are so many other incredible authors out there on Kindle Unlimited that you need to check out their books. I seriously cannot get enough of them. I wanted to include all of them in here, but I was trying to narrow it down. So if you want a part 2 with even more amazing fantasy books out there that are on Kindle Unlimited, please let me know. I definitely recommend you reading every single one of these books because, well, one, we can chat about them, but two, you are going to shed a lot of tears, but also be so grateful that you shed so many tears. And three, they are just some incredible books that you need to get into your life and be able to appreciate as well. Even I say thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys back again next week. Say bye!